You fucked me, you can't. Hi and welcome to Back to the Drawing Board with Soti and Dan. I'm your host Soti and my co-host Dan is with me today. How are you, Dan?
Good. Happy to be here, Sodi. Always a pleasure to spend my, what are we, Tuesday night with the one and only Sotland.
Mm-hmm. Soti the hottie.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, just before we get into today's podcast, make sure to head on over to Mightier Than the Sword podcast, check it out, and yeah, let us know how everybody's going. So today's episode, we're going to go through the review of, the review of the top 6 teams played over the weekend. We'll finish off with Numbnut of the Round, which I think we all know who Numbnut of the Round will be.
Our esteemed host. No, I'm joking. I joke.
A joke.
Please keep me on the show. I'm
sorry. But yeah, so first we'll just go through the results of the weekend, and then we're going to get stuck into a few of the games. And yeah, let's get stuck into it. So start off, we had Everton versus West Brom, a 5-2 win over West Brom for Everton. Calvin Lewis with a hat-trick. Brighton surprise winners 3-0 over Newcastle. Spurs win 5-2 with a shocking first half performance. Arsenal win 2-1 against the Hammers. United's first game of the season. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later on in the show.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace 3-1. A masterclass by Hodgson. Leeds United win 4-3 over Fulham. Leicester beat Burnley 4-2. Liverpool beat Chelsea, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on. City's first game of the season, 3-1 over Wolves. And Aston Villa winning 1-0 against Sheffield United and starting off the season with a bang. So, to start off with, let's get your thoughts on the Everton-West Brom game, Mr. Dan the Man.
I'd say shocking. Very, very surprising. Everton obviously did play well. The red card from West Brom, I mean, it was so unnecessary.
Yeah, it was.
What's his name? Kieran Gibbs, former Arsenal man, just basically slapped or put his hand in the face of, who was it, James Rodriguez. So that was, I think, just before halftime, and when Rodriguez scored to make it 2-1.
Yeah.
So completely unnecessary, completely stupid. But it was a pretty frantic game throughout that period. The end of the first half, start of the second half, because then West Brom equalised to make it 2-2, and they.
West Brom's goals were bangers, man. Yeah. Probably goals of the week. Arguably goals of already.
But especially with Everton, perfect start, 2 from 2. They bet a team that they probably weren't expected to in Tottenham, and now a team that they were expected to. So good start.
Very good start. Obviously, Calvin Lewis hat-trick. James Rodriguez gets his first goal in the Prem. He's actually looking a lot sharper and really good. He's really Everton looking scary, man. My obvious analysis is that when Everton realised Liverpool were going to finally win a Premier League title, they're like, they weren't scared for 30 years, and then it finally happened. They're like, that's not happening ever again. Yeah. Obviously, Everton came from behind to actually win 5. And obviously that sending off was a bit stupid. I probably wouldn't have given it a red card, to be honest, because
I wouldn't have either.
There was a scuffle just behind it, and he was kind of just, they were just pushing. I would have just let it go, but I guess we live in VAR at the moment. So, I mean, we can touch base on a few penalties later on in the episode, but yeah, that's just a little bit, I don't know. I would have just given both players a yellow card and just called it as is and given the free kick to Everton and just move on.
Yeah. But look, Everton going well, flying. Best team in Merseyside by far. little competition to deal with anyway, so it's all good. It's all good.
Next off, we have Man United versus Palace, which I want to talk a little bit later after we go through the results. But we'll talk about Man United's woes a little bit later. But obviously, Palace winning 3-1. At one point, Palace had 75% of possession. They had 17 shots to 14. There was a lot of times in the game where they had controlled majority of the game. Roy Hodgins, just absolute masterclass against Solskjaer, which isn't hard to do. Zaha scores 2 goals against his former team, and Van den Beek scores his first goal for Man United. I don't know why he started on the bench. For whatever reason, when he came on, it looked like he took complete control. And you can see that the overseas players are making a huge difference in the Prem, whether that is the Thiagos, the Van den Beeks, the Bruno Fernandes, types of players that Kevin De Bruyne, even when he came from Germany, players that...
Sorry, I was going to say, to touch on Van den Beek and his performance, he did score his first goal. What about, no one even went over to him to kind of celebrate, to congratulate him? First game, first goal. No. So at that stage, it was to make it 2-1. So, you're back in the game.
Did you celebrate?
Yeah. I mean, he grabbed the ball, but, you can still celebrate with him. You're back in the game. It's not like it's 4-0 and he scored one to make it 4-1. Yeah. I think that's the problem with United. The selfish mentality, selfish culture. They didn't even go to celebrate with him. They're just a funny club. They're just a comedy club. They're fast becoming the new Arsenal, and we don't need a new Arsenal. Dear God, we've already got enough comedy.
A little bit further, to be honest, and say they're the Liverpool of the 90s. When Liverpool was coming off being, the greatest team in England at the time, and one of the best clubs in actually all of Europe, winning within 12 years a space of titles that was ridiculous. Come into the 90s, Liverpool, United obviously took over the Prem. So I think that's what's happening with United at the moment. I think they're becoming more Liverpool than they are becoming more Arsenal. Because I think Arsenal know what they are. I think United have lost their identity. But obviously I will talk about that a little bit more and highlight a little bit more of the issues going on at United. And I guess a lot of United fans would be excited to talk about that. Moving on, Arsenal beating West Ham 2-1. West Ham, my bogey team that I hate, actually deserved to win this game. Arsenal, obviously won the FA Cup, the Community Shield, and then obviously winning the first game of the season 3-1 against Fulham. But in today, against West Ham, kind of showed, I would say, their true colours. West Ham had twice as many shots as them. Danny boy, any thoughts from you again with the West Ham Arsenal game?
Well, I think this game was a far bigger reflection of Arsenal and what we expect from them this year. Granted, they did get a little bit lucky with the result to win 2-1 with a late winner, but not convincing. I mean, credit to them for being able to knuckle down and actually get a result. This would have been a game they probably would have drawn or probably lost in previous seasons. So credit to them for getting that, but they didn't look good.
I think when you have a team that when you're playing against West Ham with all the problems that they have, and you're a top team, right? You're supposed to be one of the big clubs in England, just like Palace and United. I'm sorry, but they shouldn't be having more shots than you.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be playing better than you. They should be playing to win because they're a competitive team.
Yeah.
But the stats just look like Arsenal just sat back against West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
And I think slowly what's going to happen, it's going to take time for this system to work for Arsenal. And I believe they're sort of on that path of what Liverpool were a few years ago when, Klopp came in and introduced a system and an overhaul and whatnot. So there's a few things and Arsenal fans need to be patient. But, I mean, in overall, the Premier League is in a good state with such competitive teams.
True.
Next, what's up next, Daniel? You've got the scores for Southampton and Spurs.
Oh yeah, 5-2 Tottenham. That was a huge shock, to be honest. Watching that game, especially after the first half, you're thinking, all right, Southampton might actually
Did you
pinch
watch?
it here.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Credit to Song, one man army, pretty much. Absolutely killed it. But Southampton, I mean, how do you go from playing so well to basically dictating the play in the first half to not even like giving a yelp in the second half? They were just like, they scored these goals. We'll let them have this one. We'll focus on next week.
Yeah.
They did nothing. I don't know what happened, but credit to Tottenham. I mean, a few of their goals were on the break. Harry Kane became a facilitator, assisted all 4 of Son's goals. Who would have thought that? You would have thought of
kind of that old school pass it up to the big centre forward and he'll just chip it onto your wingers.
Yeah.
Come get the ball and then just chip it over or pass it to the wings and move the ball forward. Yeah, you're definitely correct. I was watching. I was very surprised. And like we were saying just before we started talking about this, starting the podcast, Tottenham were very lucky to even equalise, to be fair. Southampton were playing fantastic football. The thing for me, though, in review to this is more Jose Mourinho's style of play.
Yeah.
In the first half, the balls over the top and the passing through plays in the final third wasn't really working for him until Son obviously scored a banger of a goal. To be fair, his goals were. But moving into the second half, it basically just was a few passes forward, back, over the top. A few passes forward, back, over the top. Because it was such a high line, which, okay, cool. For Tottenham, they scored 5 goals, but it looks really bad on Southampton. When you have such a high line, and as when I was coaching, when you have such a high line against a team that has such quick forwards, you can't always press a high line. If you're down 4-1, why are you still pressing a high line? Drop a couple of your centre-backs back, or don't let your full-backs push so far back, because they were dictating the play in the first half. Why aren't you going back to that? And all, Tottenham really did was pass it around a few times, gave it over to Kane, and just pass it over to Son. That's it.
Tottenham made adjustments. Southampton didn't make any adjustments.
And no,
they
fair.
made no.
Yeah, look, it worked. It doesn't matter. Tottenham got the win, and to be honest, I actually didn't mind the way that they were playing. It reminded me of old school football days, like the way you want your centre forward to be, the way you want your centre midfielders to pass the ball. And it's actually a positive, a very big positive for Tottenham, because they started off so bad at the start of the season, obviously last week against Everton. They started bad against Southampton, and they just turned it on. But most importantly, Dele Alli being left out of the squad and Jose Mourinho saying we have too many players in certain positions. What are your thoughts on that, Dan?
Well, he's definitely on the outs, isn't he? Well, knowing Jose Mourinho, knowing how he is, and his history with certain players going into new clubs, I mean, if he doesn't get along with someone, he's going to alienate them, and that's what's happening with Dele Alli. Look what happened with Juan Mata when he went back to Chelsea the second time around. He didn't do what he wanted. He didn't defend enough, and he didn't play him. And it looks exactly the same case. But I don't know. I mean, Dele Alli, to be honest, hasn't been performing well either. So
he's not consistent. And sorry to cut you out. In the documentary, All or Nothing, Jose Mourinho actually says he's lazy, straight to his face in front of everybody. He even brought him in and said, what's the actual problem? And the thing is that Dele Alli is very well aware of what his problems are. I think he's just very immature, and that's where the problem is. I think his immaturity plays a big part. I think his swagger's a bit. Oh, he's kind of like Balotelli, to be honest. That's what he reminds me of. Can be the best player in the league, better than De Bruyne. I don't know. Just his maturity, his swagger's getting in the way of his football. He could be the best player in England, but he chooses not to be. He could be the leader of an England soccer team. He could be the next Gerrard or next Lampard, but it just doesn't,
He thinks he's a lot bigger than what he is. He thinks he's a lot better than what he is, and
but he still is a lot better than what he is. Oh my God, I dropped my coffee everywhere. This is like the third, fourth time I've done this.
That's what you get for bagging Dele Alli. That's what you get.
Oh my God! Yes.
It's all right. As long as the casting couch is safe in the background, it's all good. Which is still available for sale, by the way, for esteemed listeners.
For our esteemed listeners. Luckily, we can edit this out. Like if this was live. Fucking hilarious, lads.
Nah, just leave it. Who cares?
Who cares?
It's funny.
It's fucking rude. Oh, God. I can just imagine Jazz right now on the couch. Fuck.
Hey, Dele Alli would be laughing at you right now.
If he watched this, he'll be like, lad.
Lad, you're having a go at me, and this happens to you.
Back again, lad. Swagger jacker. Oh, God, the coffee stinks, lad. Oh.
Good job, mate.
Let's make another coffee. It happened to me last week while I was fucking editing too. I'm just too busy waving my hand. Yeah, so in saying that, sorry about that, lads. In saying that, he does have the skill level. The reason we're laughing is because you're probably watching this video. I've had to cut out a bit of it because I've dropped my coffee everywhere.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, I was sent to the goulash. Get some goulash.
I reckon we should leave that bit in.
You reckon? All right. Yeah, whatever. Too easy. It's a good laugh.
One thing I didn't like, aside from you spilling your coffee everywhere, is what's his name? And the post-match press conference. So Son was being interviewed and he was being congratulated as the man of the match. And Mourinho comes in and is like, you know what? I think Harry Kane should have been the man of the match. He tried to kind of take it away from him. Like, what? I mean, why? Just let him have his moment. You can say that to Kane afterwards, like congratulate him, but like you don't have to do it in public. It's almost a little bit embarrassing. But yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, I wasn't. It's something that he's been criticised. I think his mentality worked in the early days.
Yeah.
We've seen why the last few years Liverpool and Man City have dominated the league, and that's because their coaches don't criticise their players in the public eye. And they don't do things that sabotage or purposefully, I don't know, playing mind games. They're open, they're honest people. That's how it is. The way it is the way you see them, the way it is. And a lot of people can't adjust to people like that very easy because, like, you're just open all the time, whether they're sad, they're happy, they're up, they're down, like they're just them. And I think when you have a coach like a Pep, a Klopp, a Pochettino, even though Pochettino, obviously didn't win any trophies at the time, but he was a fantastic coach. When you have people like that don't criticize in the media and don't criticize you in such a negative way, like I would never, ever, as a coach, if someone scored 4 goals, regardless if they were man of the match or not, you don't say it in front of everyone. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, Yeah, I didn't like that either. And like you brought it up, but like saying about Dele Alli, I think his skill level is there. I just obviously have no idea what's happening, and I think they're just rather bank on him at the moment before it becomes a Balotelli-esque
Yeah.
situation. It's time for him to move on and play at a Real Madrid where they're prima donnas, or he won't get a game at any other club.
He can fill Gareth Bale's spot on the bench if he goes to Real Madrid. Dele Alli.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe that was part of the deal. Who knows?
Who
Who
knows?
knows?
Yeah.
But moving on
Mm.
to Chelsea Liverpool, which is one of the games we will highlight a little bit later. Chelsea Liverpool win 2-0. Thiago came on at halftime and actually broke a record. He passed the ball more times than anyone else in the Chelsea team. He broke an English Premier League record on his first game in the first 45 minutes. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Mane scores 2 goals. Obviously, we know what happened in that game, and we will talk about it a little bit more.
No, we don't. Tell us. No, tell us.
Do you want to know what happened?
Nah, we'll go into it later. We'll go into it later.
And obviously, Wolves, Man City. Man City getting a Premier League, their first match of the season, winning 3-1. Nathan Aki got a debut. Phil Foden played extremely well. And also a lot of fans were very happy with Nathan Aki's performance. What are your thoughts on that Man City game? Heard it wasn't too much of a dominant performance by Man City.
Wasn't, but at the same time, they did what they needed to. First game against a tricky opponent. They obviously would have.
Man City. That's why I said I thought it would be 1-0.
Yeah, well, that's why. I mean, tricky opponent. They would have sat back for about a week and a half until they finally played their first game.
Yeah.
So they did what they needed to do, much like Arsenal. I mean, it wasn't overwhelmingly convincing, but they still got the shots on the ball. They had 14 shots.
It's not an easy team to play against.
9 on target as well. So, I mean, they're always going to have shots on the ball. They're always going to create with having De Bruyne sit behind the strikers. So, and he managed to get on the score sheet himself. So, pretty good for Man City. Again, one they needed to win, but we'll see how they go.
See what happens. They did concede at the end of the day, but apparently Nathan Aki played well. Kolo Toure wasn't too worried about his stature as size. Obviously, Pep Guardiola has played with small centre-backs like Mascherano in the past, turning from a central defensive midfielder to a centre-back. So, I mean, I think he's more than happy to have Nathan Aki, who's quick and he's pretty decent on the ball also. 40 million for a player that's gone, from a team that's been relegated. I don't know.
Homegrown, all.
But a whole homegrown. Well, he's not homegrown. He's Dutch.
Oh wait, you're right. Sorry.
Phil Foden.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
He's Dutch. Nathan Aki is obviously a very good ultimate team player. But
that's why they got him. I think that's why they got him.
They got him. He's good. Good links in the weekend league.
Yeah.
So
it's all about that esports.
He's good on esports. Yeah, that's the main thing. So let's get into our highlighted games, and one of those games is Man United versus Palace. What are your thoughts on just? You're already fucking laughing.
It's just. Oh my god!
Mate.
When will it end for United? Like when will the comedy end? Like it's just again 3-1 Crystal Palace. They let Zaha go and Zaha scores 2 against them. Now, granted, one of them was a penalty, and the penalty had to be retaken because the first one got saved. But come on, like they had 76% possession for the game, Man United. So they had the ball, and yet they had 3 more shots than Crystal Palace for the whole game. So they had so much more of the ball, and they only managed 3 more shots than Crystal Palace. So what exactly were they doing when they gave up the ball? Did they move it all? Because it seems like every time Palace had the ball, they got a shot because they didn't have the ball much. It was disgusting.
Well, they weren't
United,
effective, to be honest. They had, yeah, sorry, I said before that Palace had 75% possession. At one stage, Palace had almost about 50%
yeah,
of possession, and Man United was sitting back. What? No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but why on earth are you sitting back as Manchester United? You're supposed to be the biggest club in England. On paper, they are, in the sense that financially they are one of the biggest clubs in the world of sports. You know, bigger than Lakers, bigger than Boston Celtics. Like even the Yankees. They're one of the most marketable teams in the world, right? They had 909 touches to Palace's 441. They had 703 passes to Palace had 225. Almost 500 more passes.
yeah.
And guess what? Palace had more tackles, more clearances, and they won 3-1.
It's comical. It's actually comical. So how many passes? They had 225 passes and they managed 14 shots. So they had a shot per every 16 passes. Crystal Palace. So in 90 minutes, yeah, that's some quick math for you there. Quick math, okay? It, yeah, so in every 16 shots, I mean every 16 passes, they managed to get a shot away against Man United. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What the hell is that?
That's ridiculous. Not only that, it's also when I was watching a bit of the gameplay, right? I was just watching a bit of the highlights today during break at work. Yeah. Lindelof and Luke Shaw, hopeless. I was watching a show, The Kickoff, them talking about how Lindelof and Luke Shaw together are just really bad. So that whole left side needs fixing. Harry Maguire is just, they spent 80 million, and everyone's like, yeah, 80 million for Harry Maguire, when Liverpool spent 70 or 65 on Van Dijk. I don't know. Okay, cool, whatever. All right, hopeless. They've spent over 200 million odd pounds on players and still just can't get it right. The other thing is the way that we're closing down players in play, and you know when they tried to overload one side of the park or whatever. To be honest, I actually don't know their style of play, United style of play. I don't even know if it's actually counter-attacking football.
To be honest, I don't think the United players know their style of play either. So
yeah,
you're not wrong for
that. Closing down was just horrendous. I thought it was quite disgusting. This isn't the United of old, and a lot of people know that. But a lot of people, they're like, no, Solskjaer is doing the best he can, with the United board and the Glazers or whatever they're called, Look, let's be honest. I think they're happy with just whatever finances are coming in.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Solskjaer has been there a while now. Okay, he has been there enough to be able to take his own, to stamp his footprint on this team, and get rid of the players he doesn't want, keep the players that he does want. I mean, look at the Paul Pogba, that whole thing with him. He wants to leave, but they almost beg him to stay. And now he's staying, but he plays like he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, but why bring in Van den Beek if you're going to get rid of Pogba? Because Pogba's not a CDM. That's my opinion. I don't think he's good at closing down players. I don't see his defensive abilities as, I do think he needs to have more free flow, on the ball, but it just hasn't worked. He's been there, 3 years now? It's just not working. It's just not working. But why bring in Bruno Fernandes and Van den Beek And if you've got Pogba, why aren't you playing all three of them together? Why is Van den Beek on the bench? You played him in the preseason against Aston Villa and you started him. So why are you bringing him on at half time?
He came on and scored as well.
Came on, sort of dictated the play for him.
No one wanted to celebrate with him. He scored. No one wanted to celebrate.
Yeah. No. It's a lot of worries for Man United, and I think that they're obviously. This is how I see it. They've had Louis van Gaal, obviously David Moy, Louis van Gaal, Giggs for a little bit, which was working out not bad. Mourinho and Solskjaer, 5 coaches.
Yep.
At what point, and 2 out of those 5 coaches, I think the board have gone, yeah, no. These people aren't yes people.
Yeah.
And that's why the perfect person for United is Solskjaer. He's always happy. Always happy. Because I think he's got a long-term, I think he got a 20-year contract by the looks of things. I don't know why he's acting the way he is. Because if my team played like that with 75% possession and lost 3-1, you're all sacked.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was disgusting. But full credit to Palace. I mean, to be able to have as many shots as they did with very, very limited possession and to put 3 away, full credit to them. So as bad as United were, Palace played pretty well as well.
To be fair, though, this is one of the better sit-back moments of football because I think they were outclassed, United. They were outplayed because they were so clinical, Palace. And that is more important than just sitting back the whole time and waiting until the 90th minute because they scored 3 goals before that. So that's fantastic play by Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace fans, typical Hodgson, just sitting back against the big teams, if you count United as a big team. But it was a wonderful performance, masterclass. Next game I want to speak about is the Chelsea-Liverpool game. Sorry, I know you didn't want me to bring this up. But what on earth was Christensen doing? He thought he went from Clark Kent taking off his suit to become Superman, and as he was doing it, he wiped out one of the pedestrians. He wiped out Mane and forgot. He's like, oh, wow, I'm not Superman. he footy tackled him.
Look, he was disgusting. He was stupid with what he did. I'm not gonna put all the blame on him though, because you know what, that would do this other gentleman a huge disservice because he deserves to put in the same sentence as Christensen for the numbnut of the round, shall we call it. So Christensen, he had his name booked in, and not long after half time, our great goalkeeper from Chelsea, the man with the first name called Kepa, who is meant to be a keeper, decided he's an outfield player and he's going to start to take him on. Maybe he's got all the time in the world. He doesn't. I mean, come on. Do you know who he is? And Mane just goes bang, and it's 2-0, and it's 2-0 with 10 men, and it's like, well, what just happened? It's like, why? That is completely unnecessary. You're horribly out of form. You're low on confidence. The logical thing to do would be like, I've got it. I better get rid of it quick because I don't know what I'm doing. But he's like, no. I'm gonna play myself in some form. If I can't be keeper, maybe I can be an attacking midfielder. Maybe they'll put me there. It's just it was idiotic. Those 2 players were disgusting. Chelsea as a whole were awful. I'll let you say what you need to say, and then I'll rip them some more afterwards as well.
These are a couple of my thoughts, and as I was writing down as you were talking, some of the things that I really wanted to speak about. was, first of all, the goals by Mane and the play with Thiago and Liverpool pushing the ball out and just the beautiful team goal, the first goal.
Yeah.
The second one, yes, it was a mistake by the goalkeeper, but this is a critical thing that a lot of young players need to understand. And if you're young and you're watching this, closing down and pressing the goalkeeper and why you do it. See, Mane, as soon as he lost the ball, he jumped up in the air. It was funny. He jumped up in the air, and it's like as if he became Roadrunner, right? He jumped in the air because he was like, oh, shit, but then realized he can close him down. That snap of changing that direction in football, especially in soccer, is so important as a player that's playing in the front three to close down players. The other thing was Roberto Firmino telling him to close down a certain space, and it worked, right? The other thing for me was this team, and as Chelsea, I will be completely honest, I would not want to play them at the back end of the season, though. Because Chelsea, yeah, I would not want to play them at the back end of the season. I think it's going to take some time, but they're going to get together and they're going to be a very, very good. I'm being honest, that wasn't comfortable with me. It was only 0-0 at half time. Yeah, and I don't believe it was a penalty with Thiago, but
yeah, no, I get you. But the idiocy came through in the end. The idiocy is always going to come through. When you've got fools like that in the team, they can't help it. They can't help but be who they are. So that's just. And Jorginho and his penalty. What's that? What is he doing? Is he doing triple jump, like hop step jump before he takes a penalty? Like
doing the tarantella.
Yeah, it was yuck. It was yuck. It was bad to watch. It was disgusting. Credit to Liverpool. Their first goal was awesome. Awesome build-up play. Perfectly put away. And again, why would you take your time if you're a keeper or even if you're a defender at the back when you got Mane and Salah and the way that Liverpool press? It's just, I'll never understand it.
Most definitely. I think that's leading on to the end of this podcast and finishing off with the numbnut of the week. I spilt the coffee, so I'm going to nominate myself for numbnut of the week at the moment. But Dan, who's your numbnut of the week?
As I said before, these two were impossible to split up. They have one hand on the trophy each. We've got Christensen on one side for his beautiful one red card effort, which was good. And then the other side, the other man to lift up the trophy, equally as valuable, is our man Kepa, our goalkeeper, who does anything but keep in goal. So, shout out to those guys. It's some effort. I can't wait to watch you next week and see what you dish out. Actually, not Christensen, thankfully, because he'll be on the sideline. Thank God for that. But yeah, Chelsea signed a new goalkeeper as well. So, dear God, get him out there ASAP.
Mendy, was it Chelsea? New signing. I can't even say his name properly.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they signed him for a 5-year deal.
Hakim Ziyech. Who was it?
Yeah, he's their goalkeeper. I don't remember his name.
Mendy.
Is it?
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, you're right, Mendy. So they signed him to a 5-year deal, and please, dear God, get him out there ASAP.
ASAP, please, now, right now, get him out there as soon as bloody possible. Eduard Mendy could be confirmed as a Chelsea player in the next 24 hours, which he has on a $22 million from Rennes to bring in the Senegalese international to Stamford Bridge. This is according to Talk Sport. Comes amid the ongoing poor form of Kepa Arrizabalaga, who suffered another moment of the 2-0 defeat to Liverpool. Mendy is set to complete his medical in Berlin on Tuesday and has already agreed to personal terms. Thiago Silva can also make his debut for Chelsea in the League Cup.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Just get someone in there. Fair enough. Okay, ladies and gents, that will be it for Soti and Dan. Back to the drawing board. Make sure to catch us the next preview show of the next round match, week 3. Until then, be a good sport.
Guys, and don't forget the casting couch still for sale.
Yeah.
And no coffee stains on there. Nothing's been spilled on there.
Stains. No stains. No stains. Nothing has ever happened on that couch before.
No.
All right, ladies and gents, take care. Good night and be good sports. Deuces.
Bye.